A very warm welcome and thank you for joining for our next instance here for this IoT-focused webinar that we at PortaOne have put together. I'm very happy to be joined today by our partners and guests, Adriano De Santis. He's from emnify, based in Berlin. Good morning, or actually good afternoon, Adriano.
Good morning to you guys.
Yeah, Bill and Alex from PosiTrace, both, I believe, located in Vancouver. Alex, are you in Vancouver as well?
I'm in Guadalajara, Mexico right now.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. That sounds about right. So thank you very much for joining us here on this session with the topic of fleet management and global connectivity SIMs. So we do hope you learned something. We will talk about fleet management as one of the use cases for IoT. We will talk about global connectivity SIMs and why they are needed, where they're useful and how they're useful. And we're going to talk a little bit about upselling using PortaBilling as a charging engine for those of you that do not yet know PortaOne and our solutions. So let's get underway. Let's take a look at our agenda here. So we'll first talk a bit about PosiTrace, a fleet management system with advanced tracking and analytics capabilities. Then we will talk a bit about emnify and their Global IoT eSIMs. And as I mentioned, we'll talk just a brief moment about PortaBilling, how you can use our software to tie things together. I realize that most of you have a telco background, so you may be a service provider, you may be a telco in your country of a variety of flavors, so offering data, voice, or a variety of other services. So we're going to use that, I think, in our session here to keep that in mind. We hope you learn about global connectivity eSIMs, learn about fleet management as one of the use cases, and see how it all ties together. So let's get started. I'm going to ask, before we get underway with PosiTrace, I do want to quickly launch a poll, if you don't mind, just to give us a bit of an understanding of where you are in your journey here. So allow me to launch this poll. You should see the question pop up. So if you see opportunities for fleet management within your country's market, what role do you envision yourself playing? And maybe some of you already are active in this. So I realize we don't have an option for this. But for those of you that are not yet active in this market, do you see yourself more of a local distributor or reseller of fleet management solutions? Do you envision yourself wanting to supply connectivity? Or is it more that you're looking to be a system integrator to build sort of end-to-end solutions? So those are the four options. It's also fine if none of these really work for you. That's okay too. You see, I have a few people participating now. Fantastic. Thank you so much. This allows us to also custom tailor maybe our question and answers a little bit in our panel discussion that we have planned for later in this session. Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for participating in the poll. I'm going to end this here. And so we seem to have roughly 50% not yet decided and the other 50% system integrator as a role. Thanks a lot. All right. So then we will get underway with PosiTrace. Alex, if you could tell us a little bit about what you do and who you help with your solutions.
Absolutely, thank you. So, hi all, my name is Alex. I'm a Chief Operation Officer of PosiTrace company, and I'm happy here to represent PosiTrace and fleet management as an area at home. So we are PosiTrace, we're an international company. We are mostly operating in North America, in Canada, Mexico, and USA. We're working in different sectors like agriculture, government, so on and so on. So first, when we talk about the fleet management, what is fleet management? What is the definition? Fleet management, it's a sub-area of logistics, and fleet management as an area dedicated to management fleets, management assets. When you're talking about the assets, it can be buses, excavators, trucks, or non-powered units like containers or trailers and so on. The idea of a fleet management is to boost operation to reduce cost and reduce downtime. Fleet management software as a tool allows fleet managers to not only manage their fleet physically, not only observe it on the field, not only see where the unit located at the moment. It allows to get the deeper insight of what's happening with their fleet on both security and economical level. So when you're talking about the security, it can be driver behavior, it can be anything related to crime activities. When you're talking about the financial activities, it's mostly about the reducing cost, financial efficiency, reducing fuel consumption, optimizing roads, and so on. This means that the fleet management software provides you not only the data, you're not only getting the data where your units are, it provides you the insights of how should you change your operation to get manage your fleet more efficient. Normally, all fleet management systems, they have two major functions, security and efficiency. Security means that you are able to protect your fleet from any crime activity, from robbing, and so on and so forth, to increase chance of recuperating the stolen vehicles, to increase chance of getting the right decision in case of any accident if the police is involved. And when you're talking about the efficiency, we're talking about a large, deep hole with different dimensions. First of all, it's efficiency of decisions. So when you are making any decision on which units to use, any decisions about maintenance, any decision about what training to provide to your drivers, you can use fleet management software as a tool that helps you to do it better. We also can use fleet management system and PosiTrace as well as a tool that allows you to physically reduce cost, to choose the right route, to compare the consumption, full consumption in this period to the previous period, to reduce the downtime by providing the predictive maintenance. And that's something that help you to get efficiency as your resource, to get money only from managing your fleet in the right way. In PosiTrace, we are not only focused on the software, we are focused on providing our customers the flexibility in integration. Software integration, we're integrating with different software platform, maintenance platform, financial platform, telematic platform, compliance platform like ELD. And also we are very flexible in integrating with different hardware. Like, frankly speaking, anytime you have any hardware that can be connected to our device, like concrete rotator and so on, so we can provide you data about this hardware. And but these areas and our operations open us huge opportunities and also provide us challenges, and that's why we are so happy to be here in this webinar. First of all, let's talk about the data consumption. When we are talking about the fleet management software, we are talking about the connected vehicles. It's a connected excavators, connected buses, connected trailers. Connected means that at the moment they are receiving and transferring data. Every year, the amount of data is increasing. Every year, the frequency of sending the data is increasing. Years ago, about like 10 years ago, some platform were offering, for example, 1 pin per hour, and customer was happy about it. 1 pin per day, and frankly speaking, some customers were happy with it as well.
And right it translates to kilobytes, right? So it's like 100 few hundred kilobytes per month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right now we got requests for ping per 10 seconds, ping per 15 seconds, ping per half a minute. It's increased amount of data, so we are constantly looking for partners that allow us to find the balance with a better coverage, with a better price, and so on. So we need to always think about connectivity at a specific geo point. Also, when we're talking about the data, we need to understand that the size of the data increase. We're not only providing data about the specific geo point. Each device provides you with the data about something we're calling events. It can be speeding event, it can be geofence event, it can be driver behavior, it can be, for example, harsh accelerating and so on. So every event increases the amount of data we're sending. And also, we are talking about the data from external sensors, like full sensors, tire load sensors, tire pressure sensors, load sensors, and so on, so on, so on.
You forgot the most important data hog, Alex, which is video telematics. So as we launched a few years ago, video telematics, the range of the required data consumption, monthly data consumption changed from hundreds of kilobytes or megabytes to gigabytes per vehicle, right? So it depends on the type of sensors, and if the vehicle is equipped with video telematics, even multiple video channels, depending on the usage, it might add up to several gigabytes per month.
Correct. And when we're talking about the extended data, I would say that video telematics, you cannot imagine video telematics fleet management system right now without AI. Mostly because these AI events were extremely important. We're talking about the security, for example, events related to lane departure, events that allows you to see and to track driver behavior, like driver smoking, driver not wearing seatbelt, driver speaking on the phone while driving, and so on. So these became very important in fleet management operation because they simply implementing these tools, you are significantly reducing the chance of any incidents. Yeah, each of these events, as Bill mentioned, it's data. So we are not only notifying the customer with the fact that he is driver, he is like calling right now. We are sending him a piece of a video that's showing like evidence of the fact that his driver is calling. And as we are progressing, we have more events. These events became more flexible and more complex. For example, you can have chance of events. If the bus is inactive for a few seconds, and if the driver is distracted and the door is open, then you need to do something. The more scenarios you're creating, the more data you are sending to our cloud system, and the bigger the traffic consumption. There is a big opportunity and a big challenge for us always to identify where should we calculate these events. Some of the new dashcam, they can do it on a hardware level. So basically, the dashcam itself will tell you, it can make face recognition. Who is this driver? Do you have this driver in your system? Or we can make this face recognition on our side. So, of course, as a product manager, I would like to see everything on our side, us controlling our technology on each steps, us controlling quality. But from operational level, we would like to see these expenses distributed between the different dashcams. So finding this balance will also allow us to find the balance between paying for computational power by calculating and using these machine learning models on our side, or paying for traffic because we will receive this notification, sometimes maybe a false notification from a dashcam. AI It's a very important thing in fleet management right now, because even it's a high port in fleet management, we're considering AI very straightforward. AI means security. AI means efficiency. Using complicated machine learnings, you can calculate, compare, and predict if your operations they're on the same level of efficiency comparing to your competitors, compared to other companies. You can maintain different levels of security by notifying drivers that they need to change behavior, and notifying companies that they need to provide specific training for the drivers. And all these scenarios were, let's say, pretty practical, pretty straightforward. So the last thing I would like to mention, it's two roads and two ways fleet management platforms are going right now. It's considering yourself a platform or considering yourself as a specialized solution. In PosiTrace, we're considering ourselves as a platform. We have an open API. We're allowing other companies to connect to us and to get our data. We're getting data from other providers and other software services to provide our customers with a complex and full experience. But it's always a choice. You always need to find the best balance. Are you want to go deeper in each case for each customer, or do you want to provide them the flexibility to connect something else, so on so? Mm-hmm. There are some other platforms who are specialized on the specific industry, or even on some industry, like guys who are providing fleet management for the medical transportation companies. They are mostly focused about the compliance. They are mostly focused about producing the data that can be easily used in government organization, like and certification for the temperature sensors and so on and so forth. But because the transportation of medical of drugs, it's a very highly regulated area. We can do the same, but we can do the same on the high level. We have all specification, we have all the necessity, but we are not focused on there. We're not providing it like on the out of the box. Okay, so I think, Bill, if you can add something here, that's mostly the high-level description of the fleet management itself and the fleet management software, our challenges and opportunities. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Alex. It's a very comprehensive overview of what the platform can achieve. Most importantly, for our partners, it means that the platform is very flexible. It's flexible in terms of the hardware that you can bring into the platform in order to solve specific customers' problem. And definitely the hardware should work on emnify and PortaBilling as an overall platform behind the data connectivity. So I think with that, I will make sure we don't monopolize the air and let Adriana to talk about specifically connectivity and reserve time for Q&A.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bill, Alex. Adriana, before I pass the mic to you, I just very briefly want to take this opportunity to maybe talk just very briefly why we're also brought you guys on. What we oftentimes hear when we talk to folks at industry events or on calls and on sessions and so on, and we oftentimes our customers have some sort of communication services that they're already offering to SMBs and enterprises, and a lot of questions we get is about what else can we do, what other services can we offer. And we always felt at PortaOne, it's a good opportunity if one company or one enterprise is already your customer, try to offer them more bundles of services. So if they're active in mining, if they're active in hospitals or the medical field, and they have these sort of challenges about fleet management, or they have operations in other countries where they might need global connectivity solutions, that's a prime example of where we would like to bring in partners to maybe, think outside the box and allow people to think outside of sort of the communications internet and that's it, and sort of have folks start thinking about, hey, maybe I could partner, maybe I could do something in this field. So thanks so much, Alex, Bill, for the overview. Adriano, quite excited to learn a little bit more about emnify.
There we go. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Klaus, for the introduction. And as it's been mentioned, my name is Adriano, and I represent emnify. I've been at emnify for 3 years, and I am currently a senior account executive, meaning that I am responsible for onboarding new business into the company. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's really an honor to have the opportunity to present emnify to you. So as you can see from this slide, we are a global IoT connectivity provider. We just celebrated our 10th year in business. We are headquartered in Germany, but we have a global presence with the offices in the US, in Brazil, and the Philippines. We also recently we hit a very important milestone, which is 14 million connected devices, and also just over 3,500 customers entrusted us with the connectivity side of their business. And these can go from small startups all the way up to enterprise level businesses. And also they are distributed across the globe, because we obviously offering global coverage. We can cater for those type of needs. How do we serve different size businesses across different verticals all over the globe? We do it through what we call the super network, which is the system of networks that we do actually offer globally. As you saw in the previous slide, it's basically our presence is in over 180 countries, where we offer more than 540 networks. What sets us apart from the competition? Like, how are we special? Well, there are a few aspects that make us special, and the first one is that of the coverage, where we basically are able to offer direct agreements and agreements through sponsors. So this is agreements through sponsors is standard on the market. But we also offer direct agreements, meaning that we have direct control over the connectivity that we offer. And also that allows basically for redundancy, meaning in each country we're able to offer connectivity to more than one operator. So that gives redundancy, and as we have a dedicated roaming team, it adds, let's say, scalability, meaning that we are constantly looking to improve and increase the coverage that we offer. The question could be, but how is this all managed? We manage this through basically one single workspace, where it is possible to provision, manage, and monitor all the connected devices. So if you have a fleet of vehicles that's deployed on the road, you're basically able to manage all that through one single space. And what makes it special is not just some features that I will dive into a little bit later, but it's the fact that we own our own core network, meaning that through this management platform, our clients are able to look at the events in real time. So unlike a classic virtual operator, we don't have to go back to the network and ask to look at the events, but these are available on our platform across all networks. Very important is also the technological stack that we do offer through integrations. We have a REST API that basically allows for integrating all the functionalities that are offered in our workspace with those, for example, of the PosiTrace or PortaOne platforms. So basically, through API calls, we can integrate all these functionalities and basically offer several advantages to a fleet management enterprise, which could be accelerating their time to market. Because just to give you an example, with an API call, it's possible to activate SIM cards that are in a number of GPS trackers instantly. So there's no development time, or everything is instant. It's very quick, and the go-to-market time, for example, is quick. Last but not least, there's the security aspect, which is increasingly important in the IoT space. And what we do offer in this respect are static and private IPs for each SIM. So the SIMs communicate at a private sub-level already. And we also offer VPNs, which basically are encrypted tunnels for transmitting the information from our application server to PortaOnes or to PosiTrace, for example. Two more functionalities that are very relevant, especially for a fleet tracking business, are the email lock, which is also available on our platform, where basically when this is activated, the SIM card reads the email of the device that's inserted in, and it will only work in that specific device, unless obviously the functionality is disabled. And last but not least, still in terms of security, what is possible to do is possible to limit the monthly consumption of data for each device. So basically, the customer is able to manage the connectivity in every aspect in all safety. So when it comes to fleet management, what are the biggest challenges that I have personally seen on the market? Well, there are a few. Some of the most common are devices going offline, staying offline for unspecified periods of time. Crossing borders is challenging, especially when you're going into a country where the operators available are different from the previous country. SIM misuse. Sometimes it can happen that the SIMs are actually taken out of the device and they're used in an improper way. Last but not least, there's the seasonality of fleet management companies, where the vehicles are not always on the road. Sometimes they're in the garage. Sometimes they're not being used. So how do we tackle these challenges? Well, the first one about crossing borders and losing connectivity. It's the way we tackle is like first with the redundancy of our networks, and second we have a multi-IMSI technology that is designed basically for seamless switching from one IMSI to the other on our SIM applets. So basically, what this means is when a truck crosses a border, the SIMs does automatically look for the new network system, scans the new networks available, and connects to them automatically. And all this, it's important to remember that it's all manageable through the same management platform. It's the same SIM, and the customer doesn't have to switch from one provider to another platform or another provider, and obviously everything is visible because with the core network, where we're able to look at the events across all operators, basically there's no loss of signal. Like the customer has full visibility on the connectivity. In terms of the misuse of SIM cards, the email lock is very useful. So basically this means that if the SIM is taken out of the tracker and is put into a phone, for example, it will not work. Similarly, the data limitation function ensure that if the SIM exceeds a specific consumption set by our clients per month, it will stop working until the next month when obviously the data bundle resets. And last but not least, what we do offer is a very flexible billing system where SIMs only go on the invoice when they are active. So basically, if the customer deactivates the SIM because the truck is in the garage for 1, 2, 3, 6 months, they will not be paying for the connectivity because the SIM is deactivated. This is basically, in short, how I see our product applied to a fleet management use case. Klaus, I leave it over to you, and I'm obviously available for Q&A later.
Great, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Adriano. One portion that I wanted to mention here, Adriano, you mentioned obviously billing system. So on the PortaOne side, obviously we're fully aware that for most use cases, there may not actually be a need for a sort of sophisticated real-time platform like PortaBilling, and a lot of enterprises might be fully sufficient with the tools that both PosiTrace and emnify obviously come with. I think where sometimes opportunities exist for either existing PortaOne customers that already have our platform, or maybe for new operators that look to start with your solutions, with your global connectivity, with PosiTrace's fleet management software and platform, but then potentially look at to upselling and look to cross-sell, bundle various services together. And I think that's where we also see a lot of opportunities for PortaOne customers, where you could then use our flexible billing platform to sell the subscription, sell bundles with other solutions together, and then use tools, either our PortaOne Workflows platform, like a low-code, no-code iPaaS, or use another tool that's obviously out there from Amazon or Google and whatnot, to then provision the various networks and so activate a customer in PortaBilling, and then provision those events to the PosiTrace platform, to the emnify connectivity, then activate the SIMs via API calls. So that's sort of where we see our role. So I wanted to put that in on how, in case folks had sort of questions about how everything fits together. But having said that, I think I'd be more interested in maybe go a little deeper in some of these topics that we touched on. Maybe first to you, Bill. One question I had: what are sort of the pieces of the puzzles of anyone that wants to get started with fleet management? So let's say I'm a telco, I'm a service provider in some country around the world, and I have maybe talks with enterprises, SMBs. Is it really that they just need sort of to reach out to you? They need PosiTrace, they need someone like emnify for connectivity. Is that all they need, or are there other pieces to the puzzle involved?
Fortunately, we have already partnered with emnify on the data solution side. So in this regard, by all means, they can start with us in terms of reaching out and making sure that our solution is what the customer would want to see. As Alex mentioned, it's a platform, so it's a very broad solution with very flexible setup, where not only you can extend the solution to the customer requirements or work with an integrator who does that, as well as integrated with the enterprise level software such as SAP ERPs and many other systems that we have done in the past. Definitely it's an open platform that is tested in dozens of countries already, and we open for partnerships.
Sounds good. Fantastic. So there are, apart from maybe system integrators, just to kind of as a follow-up here, are there other parties involved? Like, are there sometimes local distributors or agents or anything like that? Who else would be? And I'm asking this question just to kind of get folks an idea. Sure. It's not as complicated as one might think. And
we can definitely provide a turnkey operation all the way from back office to hardware provisioning to SIM card management infrastructure. So our platform is a fully turnkey to set up a fleet management reselling operation.
Then maybe to you, Adriano, one question that I wanted to touch on is sort of the regulatory or the licensing side of things. Are there any specific requirements that CSPs or telcos need to be aware of when they procure services from you? Is it all covered with your single agreement, or how does that work? Is there a specific license needed?
Absolutely, great question. When it comes to certifications, it's usually it's more on the device side. Mm-hmm. Let's say we come into play when it comes to compliance, when it comes to data. And what we do is we have regional breakouts because we built on the AWS infrastructure. So we offer several regional breakouts. So there's North America, Europe, and so on and so forth, which means that the data stays local. So when you're talking about the European Union, the data stays within the European Union and it stays compliant with the GDPR regulations, for example. And the same principle applies to every area. So, and that just a small note that also helps with the latency. So obviously the data travels faster and there's less latency when it's transmitted.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So overall, is sort of the connectivity, Adriano, how local or regional telcos could partner with you, an opportunity, or is it mostly that if they have global enterprises that require connectivity solutions, that they would simply reach out to you and say, look, I need some eSIMs or SIMs from you? Is that how it would work? Or maybe to rephrase my question, are you actively also looking for inbound, outbound connectivity partners where some of our customers could partner with the emnify platform? Is that something you're looking for?
So there could be different ways to partner and range from incorporating their services, the coverage into our IMSIs. And vice versa, obviously. But usually we do get requests actually for when they bundle their services with another product or with another services, and they basically take advantage of the multi-operator technology. That's mostly what I see when it comes to small telcos.
Okay.
In general.
Great, that sounds good. And obviously, just putting it out there to the audience, I know I had mentioned it before. If there are any questions throughout what you've heard here today on the session so far, please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A in Zoom, and we'll be happy to pick that up and discuss it here. One question I also had towards PosiTrace, just to get a bit better idea, what hardware is usually required? Do you bring the hardware? Is it your hardware? Can customers or enterprises, they have their own hardware that you allow on your platform? How does that work?
So from day one, we decided that PosiTrace is going to be a platform as opposed to a specific niche product. So we have partnered with over a dozen of hardware manufacturers around the world.
Yeah.
Specifically, that not only helps us to find the right solution for the right customer, but as Adriano mentioned, there are some specific certifications required for different regions, and some hardware manufacturers have more proficiency in those areas than others. So in essence, there is a really wide scope of hardware options available that would work on our platform, and so you will be able to pick the right product for the right purpose.
Okay, fantastic. And that sort of as a side note, Bill, that kind of leads me actually to think PortaOne. So for anybody that has kind of or is venturing into this and is looking to develop maybe a specific type of hardware and reaches out to you, we do have a product for easy prototyping IoT mill. So for anybody that is kind of in this and is trying to maybe evaluate whether a certain business case is viable or not, IoT mill could be quite useful in trying to test out various scenarios.
Yeah, if you're developing the next GPS tracker for vehicles, asset tracker, dash cams, all of those can definitely be connected to PosiTrace. And as Alex mentioned, we have open API that allows you to be able to communicate with the servers and send data to.
Yeah, sounds good. One item I picked up earlier with the ping frequency and that it's increasing. How do you see that going forward? Is that data consumption? Do you presume it will only grow from this point forward, and folks will come to expect not only the 10-second ping, but sort of the 5-second or 1 second and then real time? Is that basically which way it's headed?
It's the data gathering from sensors that dictates the necessity of data sampling frequency. Mm-hmm. For instance, there is an application where the deployment in agricultural segment samples close to real-time sensor data from tractors in the field. Aggregates that data in the cloud and presents it as analytics or in a decision-ready form on our platform. So the hardware side is flexible enough to be able to send data as frequently as required. An ability of deploying various sensors essentially opens up new business opportunities, right? So I remember 15 years ago, lots of customers were asking for video data in cab. And while technology was out there, data costs were prohibitive,
yes.
or even data speeds, right? To transfer quality of pictures, or let alone videos. Now we essentially can live stream high definition video, multi-channel video, have the AI progress to the point that we can reduce as necessary video consumption by filtering or pre-filtering only the needed events based on the AI's modeled scenarios right on the edge on the cameras.
Yeah.
So as technology progresses, it just opens up more and more capabilities, and data accessibility and costs allow to extract more business value from the data. So it's a long-winded answer to your question. I believe the data consumption will only grow.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, I trust Adriano and you guys will obviously be ready for that. I'm sure you can see that on your network with data consumption. It must be quite eye-popping, the growth rate, I would imagine, that you see.
Absolutely. If I may add something very quickly, I just couldn't have said it better than Bill, but completely agree, 100%. And we see basically the same now with the satellite data, where currently the cost is pretty important. So I see the same trend basically. But yeah, 100% agree with Bill.
Great. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. I got to say, I learned quite a bit today, but for anybody that participated, I hope that's the same and you took something out of this session. I know our marketing team will be busy in the following weeks to make sure we have bite-sized portion of this webinar made available. We'll have a recording available. We'll have a webinar summary available for some of your colleagues that may not have been to attend and participate. I do like to mention there's a small bonus here. If you do subscribe to our news digest or to our newsletter at PortaOne, we'll have a monthly issue fully dedicated to everything IoT. So if you're active in this field, this might be quite helpful to make sure you're subscribed. If you have any more questions, please make sure to reach out to us at PortaOne. Our email address is right there on the screen, and we'll be more than happy to obviously connect you, to put you in touch with Adriano, with Bill, with Alex, if you have any questions to them. And other than that, I thank you so much here for attending, for participating, and having this session here together with our partners. Adriano, thank you. Thanks a lot, and have a good evening. Bill, Alex, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much. And until next time.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.